Hello and welcome. I'm Hayla Alawi, Atmosphere Press's Book Publicity and Events Manager. Thank you so much for joining us for day two of our 2025 Writers Summit. The Atmosphere Press Writers Summit is a completely free and entirely virtual two-day writers conference where you have the opportunity to connect with fellow writers who are serious about their publishing goals. Whether you're preparing your manuscript, exploring your publishing options, or figuring out how to promote your book once it's out in the world, this summit features 8 digestible sessions that will give you real, practical insights from industry experts. In these sessions, we'll be hearing from published Atmosphere Press authors, learning about book coaching and marketing strategies, and discovering how Atmosphere Press can support you at every stage of the process. In this particular panel, we'll be talking about how to be an advocate for your work once the writing and editing is done with our guest, Teri M. Brown. There are so many different ways to promote your book once it's published, and also so many other books you'll be competing with, especially since the market is now more saturated than ever. You are your book's best advocate, so you've got to know how to step up and support your work. And as an award-winning author, Teri is more than qualified to illuminate this topic for us. You're also going to have the opportunity for Teri to answer your questions during the Q&A portion of the event. So at any time, please do use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen to send in your questions. You can also check the Answered tab to see answers to questions that have already been posed. Also, just for attendees of this panel, we'll be having giveaways for 2 attendees, one for a free copy of Teri's latest book, Daughters of Green Mountain Gap, and the other for an Atmosphere Press merch bundle. The winners will be selected at random, and I will announce them at the end of Teri's panel. And one more thing before we get into her talk, this panel is brought to you by Independent Book Review. Independent Book Review is a reader-focused, writer-supportive review platform celebrating the best in indie press and self-published books. With over 2,000 book reviews published since 2018, the IBR team is made up of passionate book lovers who believe in the power of bold, independent thinking. Authors come to Independent Book Review for free book reviews, guaranteed book reviews, and a group beta reading service, where writers get feedback on unpublished manuscripts from booksellers, librarians, reviewers, and more. Having received many excellently written reviews from Independent Book Review for our authors, including a number of starred reviews, Atmosphere Press is especially proud to collaborate with Independent Book Review in support of this panel. And just for attendees of the Atmosphere Press Summit, Independent Book Review is offering a limited time discount on their services. You can use coupon code SUMMIT for $15 off editorial book reviews or group beta reads at independentbookreview.com/services/. I'm also putting the link for that in the chat for everybody, so be sure to take advantage of that discount. With that, I am so thrilled to introduce our guest speaker. Born in Athens, Greece, as an Air Force brat, Teri M. Brown now calls the North Carolina coast home. In 2020, she and her husband, Bruce, rode a tandem bicycle across the United States from Astoria, Oregon to Washington, D.C., successfully raising money for Toys for Tots. Teri's debut novel, Sunflowers Beneath the Snow, is a historical fiction set in Ukraine. Her second, An Enemy Like Me, is set in World War II, and her third, Daughters of Green Mountain Gap, is a generational story about Appalachian healers. Her short story, The Youngest Lighthouse Keeper, came out in the anthology Feisty Deeds, Historical Fictions of Daring Women. 10 Little Rules for a Double-Butted Adventure, launched February 2025, and is an inspirational look at the life lessons she learned riding across the United States on tandem bicycle. And her latest work, Little Lola and Her Big Dream, is a children's picture book teaching children to dream big even in the face of opposition. Learn more at www.terrymbrown.com. And with that, I'm so excited to welcome Teri.
Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm super excited to be here. I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen and see if that actually works. Let's see, is it going to work? Oh, look, we'll see if it works. Okay. And so today we're talking about advocating for your book and what that means and how that looks. And I'm going to try to give you some really easy things that you can do to advocate for your book that are also inexpensive things, because I know how expensive it can be to try to get your book out there into the world. And everybody is telling you, you have to do this and you have to do that. And there's a lot of expense, but there's things that you can do that really don't cost that much, or the way you can tweak something that you're already doing. So let's go ahead and get started and see how that works. Oh, and it's not going to move forward. Wait, it did, except there. Okay. So what is the most important marketing tip when advocating for your book? And so if you'll go ahead, maybe over in the comments section, and put which of these you think it is. Is it create a website, create a media kit, gather email addresses for a newsletter, be active on social media, become a guest like on podcasts or radio or in person, get book reviews, or something else? And so kind of put over there in the side what you think it is, and I'll give you just a moment to decide which one you think it is. And then we'll see what happens here. All right, and then let's see, we'll look over here in the chat. I'll see what people are putting in. I can't see anything in the chat, so I'm in the wrong section. All right, well, what I want you to know is that it is something else. And it's not moving forward again. There we go. So the answer is something else. And let me tell you what that something else is. It is being able to stand on a table with your book and scream and shout that it is the best book ever. Because if you can't stand on a table and scream and shout that your book is the best book ever, no one else is going to do that for you. So you have to believe that. Imagine trying to go to like a podcast host and you say, hi, my name's Teri Brown and I'm an author. And so I have this book and it's kind of okay. And it's sort of fine. And, like you might want to read it sometime. And can I be on your show? And the answer is no, because they don't want a sort of fine, somewhat okay, maybe I should read a book. They want a book that's really good. And so So I want everyone to repeat after me. You need to be able to say, my name is, state your name, and I'm the author of a great book. State the name of the book, and then you should say, you should read it. So you need to be able to say, hi, my name's Teri Brown, and I'm the author of a great book, Sunflowers Beneath the Snow. You should read it. And if you can't say that, then it's going to be really difficult to be able to do anything else about advocating for your book. So I tell people that if you can't say it, you either don't have a good book, in which case you need to get back to your editor and find out why, but I don't believe that's the case, or you need to become confident and be able to say that. Because here's the thing, if you don't say this about your book, then no one else is going to do it. Okay. You love your book better than anyone else. You know your book better than anyone else. If you don't do it, who will? And unless you can do this, all of your other marketing efforts are going to be a failure. You need to be able to get out there and say, I have a wonderful book. So you need to believe. And that's what it boils down to. So what does advocating for your book look like, for instance, when building a website? When someone goes to your website, they should know immediately that you're an author. There should be no questions whatsoever. They shouldn't have to look around and say, what am I on? The website should show that you're an author. You should make your book super easy to discover and easy to learn more about. So more than just the title, where can they find out more? Where can they learn more about that book? You need to do things like announce your awards, your reviews, your interviews, the podcasts that you've been on, more and more things that you can put out there. You need to have links to purchase your book. So if you have a website where someone can purchase from your website, you need to make that obvious. And if you cannot purchase from your website, then you need to have links to where they can go to purchase to make it easy for them to do that with your book. And then any other ways that they connect with the author, because people want to know about the author. And so this is when you go to my website, this is my website. And so the first thing you're going to see is here in the header are my books. And I don't have two of them up yet. And so it's unfortunate that I didn't get that done in time, but I had two books come out recently. But when you come, and even if you only saw the header of the website, you immediately know that I'm an author because it says that I'm an author. You see books, you know what it's about. Right here, where that arrow is you can sign up for my newsletter. So I'm giving them another way to interact with me. Hey, here I am. Here's my newsletter. These two things down here help you learn more. I've got an actual learn more button. I have a trailer so that they can listen to more about the book. Here is a section that is a way for you to get in touch with me. So, how to get in touch. Here's all my social media links. So if someone doesn't want to contact you through a website and they would rather contact you through your Instagram, for instance, then they have a place to go. And then down here at the bottom is where you can order more. So immediately on this page, I am advocating for my book and I am giving people a multitude of ways in which they can connect with me, connect with my book, and find out more. And so what does advocating look like in a media kit? So a media kit is something you want to be able to give to someone immediately if they ask for more information about your book. And that media kit should have all the information about your book that anyone should need. I highly recommend putting it on Google Docs because you can fix things on Google Docs, you can make changes, you can make additions, and whoever has the link, they get those additions the next time they open it, instead of saying, I wonder if the last media kit I sent them is still correct. So like if you win a new award, you can put the new award onto the Google Doc, and now when they open up the link, they can see your new award. So you want to have things like the book blurb, so what's on the back of your book. You want the number of pages, the number of words, the ISBN, the publishing date, the publisher, all of those things so that they have all that information. Reviews, especially if you've gotten editorial reviews, you want them in that media kit so that they can read them. I always put links to my interviews, my podcasts, so that they could go and listen and see if they're trying to make a decision, like, would we like her on a podcast? They can go and listen to some podcasts that I've been on and say, oh, yes, I think we would like her as a guest. Any awards that the book's won, any info about yourself. And all of those things are things that people want to know, and it helps you advocate for your book. So this is just the front of my media kit. And you can see all the different categories I have in there, and they can go in and click on those links. I have pictures. I have pictures of the front of the book. I have pictures of me. I have pictures of me with the book. All of the different things that someone who is going to be helping you in any way might want about the book. So what does advocating look like when you're trying to gather emails? So I really firmly believe you should be gathering emails. You should be gathering them so that you can create a newsletter. And how do you do this? Well, you should have a link on your website, which you saw. You should have a link in your email signature. So every time I send out an email at the bottom, it says, hey, would you like to be part of my newsletter? Click this link. And then a person can go sign up. You can ask in person. You can ask on podcasts and radio shows. And so this is one of the big asks. In addition to, hey, would you buy my book? One of the big asks that I do is, hey, would you like to be on my newsletter? And I give them a quick little, hey, this is what I do on my newsletter. So I do book reviews. And then so that's one a month. And then the second one a month, I go in and I talk about things that are going on. I call it my bookish life, and things that are going on with the different books and different things. So if I've won an award, or if the book is coming out in a different format, or if I have a sale going on or something, then that's in the second one. And so you want to ask people to get on that list, because once you have their email, now you can keep marketing to them, and you own that. And that's really what you want. You also need to think about, how do you advocate for your book on social media? And one of the first things you do is your profile. Your profile needs to be just like your website in terms of letting people know that you're an author. I'm just not Teri on my social media. I'm Teri M. Brown, author. People know immediately that I'm an author. I want them to know that I'm an author. And so that's one of the things that you need to do, because you can't advocate for your book if people don't know who you are. You also need to provide links where they can find information on your books. you need to be consistently active, and you need to mention your books like awards, podcasts you've been on, reviews, fun facts, cover reveals, deals. But you also need to make sure that that's not all you're doing on your social media. So on my social media, I have a couple of days a week that I do this kind of thing. And I have a couple of days a week where I do things like a favorite word or an author quote or a funny meme. And I put those things out there as well. So you want to make sure that you're interacting. And then you want to be active in groups, but don't spam. Right? You can mention your books, but you don't want to spam people. So when someone asks, for instance, hey, what's a great historical fiction? Sometimes I'll put in my own book, and sometimes I put in other books that I've read, because there are really some good historical fiction that I've read. And so I will go and put that in. And so those are things that you need to consider. These are when you go into, for instance, LinkedIn, that's what my LinkedIn heading looks like. And like I said, it shows immediately that I'm an author. The same with my Facebook and my Instagram, that people right away know. And this is something you need to do if you're going to advocate for your book. On Facebook and LinkedIn, they give you more space that you can do more things. And so I'm able to put book covers and other things up as well. And so that's something you want to think about, is how are you going to let people know who you are and what you do? So what does advocating for your book look like when you're a guest? So a guest on a podcast, a guest on a radio show, a guest in an in-person event like a book club. And the first thing that you have to be able to do is to get on one of those events. And you do that by letting them know more about you and your books. You need to be able to, once again, hey, my name's Teri Brown and I've written a great book and you should read it. And that's the kind of thing that you need to be able to do. You also have to provide the host with all the needed information, which is why I love the media kit. Because inevitably, I've been on a lot of podcasts and I will get someone who will say, hey, can you send me? And then they have a list. And I have all the information they need at one link. And I can send them the link and I'll tell them, hey, here's my media kit with everything that you need. And if you need something that's not there, let me know. The other thing that I love to do is I've been asked before for something that wasn't on my media kit, and I add it to my media kit. So in the future, anyone who asks for it will have it there. Um, I always provide a free digital copy to my hosts. And I do that using BookFunnel. So BookFunnel, I think it's like $10 a year. You can get the inexpensive BookFunnel. You can upload your book to that, and that gives you an EPUB version that you can then give out to them, or a PDF version that you can give out to them. And I think that when you are doing something and they're offering to have you on their show, providing that free digital copy is a wonderful way to get them to interact with the book in some way, so that they ask you really good questions, which then allows you to advocate for your book. And then finally, you have to engage with your audience, and remember while you're engaging with the audience that you wrote a great book. So be excited. Make sure that your answers are upbeat and exciting, and that you give the audience what it is they want to hear about a book, but you don't give so much that they don't have to go out and read it. We all know that we want reviews, and getting reviews is hard. And in fact, it's so hard that I actually create social media like this. This is me begging for reviews. And so I try to be funny about it. You have to ask. I I recommend that you create an ARC team. So that's an advanced reader copy team, where people can read your book and put their reviews out there before your book actually becomes available. That you ask anyone who buys the book, hey, will you review it? If you have a newsletter, that you put it in the newsletter, hey, will you review my book? There's even book swaps that you can do, where you can find other authors who are looking to get reviews. And it's like, hey, I'll read yours and review it if you'll read mine and review it. And all of this is advocating for your book. It's saying, I've written this great book. Let's get it out there to the world. So advocating for your book is up to you. It's 100% up to you. You can hire people. Atmosphere Press has a great marketing team that will come in and help you. But the truth is that if you're not doing things on your end, no amount of what they do on their end is going to make up for what you don't do on yours. So that's kind of what I have in terms of advocating for your book. And I'd love to hear any questions that anyone has.
Right. Thank you so much for those insights, Terry. And again, I just really love how there's so many actionable pieces of advice there that are, maybe not easy to act on, but certainly straightforward. And I think that
Yeah.
can really help a lot of authors take those steps. So yes, at this point, we do have time for our audience Q&A. So for anyone who has a question for Terry, remember that you can go and type that in the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. We're going to do our best to get to as many as we can. This first question is, some people claim that self-promotion is bad and you need outside cheerleaders as much as possible. What if someone says to me, wow, that's egotistical or arrogant or narcissistic?
You know, I think part of that is that feeling that we're not really an author, or authors are supposed to be the quiet, shy people standing in a corner and all they do is write. And that's just, maybe that was true 60 years ago. It's not true today. You have to be able to advocate for your book. And so if you can't say that my book is great, what can you say? Like, find a way to say it where it doesn't feel egotistical to you, because it's really not. I believe I've written a great book. And if I don't believe that, I'm not going to be able to market it, because all of your marketing is going to feel horrible. If you don't feel that you've written a good book, then it feels awful to say, oh, here's this book and you need to look at it. So I think most of the time people don't say it's egotistical. It's your own inner voice yelling at you, that's egotistical, that's egotistical, don't do that. So I think that's really what it is just becoming comfortable with the fact that you are an author and you've written a good book, and that it's okay to say so. I mean, it's no different than, would you want a plumber that came to your house that didn't believe that they could fix your toilet? And the answer is no. You want a plumber that comes in and says, oh, yeah, I know how to handle this. And you don't think they're egotistical at all. You're really excited that they know how to fix your problem. And so, as an author, it's the same thing.
Absolutely. I love that analogy. Just, I think there's something about artwork that makes it harder to see that sometimes,
Yes.
but
Yeah, like
you're
we feel
exactly
like
right.
somehow we have to apologize for it or something, and we don't. It's good. You wrote a good book. And so if you've written a
Exactly.
good book, then you need to let people know, hey, this is a good book. You should read it. And it's not egotistical any more than, hey, I'm the best plumber here, or I know how to fix, and do whatever it is that you need. It's the same thing. Yeah.
Exactly. This next question, going back to your newsletter points, when you have newsletters, is it better to do them under your author name or your quote unquote brand?
So I guess for me, the question is what is your brand? My brand is my author name. So everything that I do under my author name. And now if I had a pen name, then I guess it would be under my pen name. But everything I do, even my books that aren't related to one another. So for instance, I have a children's picture book and I have, a historical fiction novel. And the two of them don't really connect in any way other than I'm the author. So I am the brand. So my newsletter has my name at the top and it has my header at the top, which looks like the header of my website, and it's got the orange with the books, and it's all, and that's who I am. And when I do my social media, it's the same thing, where I have a little picture of me down in the corner of all my social media posts, because I am the brand. When I wrote my first book, Sunflowers Beneath the Snow, everything I did was sunflowers. And then I wrote my second book that didn't have sunflowers in it. And so I had to figure out, oh my gosh, what am I doing here? And so I finally figured out that I am the brand. And so I have a podcast, I have books, and all of that is under Teri M. Brown, author. So I am the brand. I hope that answered the question.
I think so, yeah. Especially that point you made about the sunflowers. I think a lot
Yeah,
of first-time authors find themselves in that hole, but it's good to know you're not stuck there. You can still branch out.
you can move out of it, and I did, and I kind of moved away from sunflowers, and I actually moved into more of like a historical fiction look. And then I realized, wait a minute, I have another book in me that isn't historical fiction, and so that's when I went to what I currently have, and hopefully I'll stay there for a while.
We'll see how that develops for sure. This connects to a point you just brought up very briefly. Do you have special advice for people who are writing under a pseudonym? Is it the same as you are the brand, just a different name?
I think so. I think so. And then it depends a lot on, is your pseudonym because you don't want to be known. So like you don't want your face to be known. And then things have to be a little different, but still your brand is who you are as an author. And so if your name is, Fred Flintstone because that's who you're going under, then that's your brand. And for me, I didn't ever want to try a pseudonym because I have trouble enough keeping up with myself, and I can't imagine trying to keep up with two of me. So I made it simple for myself. And even when I changed genres, and I'm trying out different things, I'm still me. And I have found that what I've done for myself is I say that I introduce people to characters they'd love to invite to lunch. And that is true whether it's historical fiction, whether it's a children's picture book, whether it's a humorous contemporary novel, whatever it is. I'm introducing you to characters that you'd want to invite to lunch. And so that's how I have made my brand around me.
Yes, absolutely. It's definitely customizable to exactly what you're
Right,
going for.
right.
This next question, you've published many books now, but what is something you wish you had known about publishing before you published the first book?
I wish that I had understood how much of the marketing was going to be on me, because I published the first book and I sat in front of my computer and I waited to watch it sell, and it didn't. And I was very distraught. I didn't understand, why wasn't it selling? I had a book, I put it out. What more should I do? And I realized that I needed to be the advocate. That's when I first recognized that it was really up to me, that people can't buy a book they don't know exists. And it used to be that there was the a gatekeeper that kept most people from ever getting published. And that's not true today. Today, if you want to be published, you can be published. There's a bazillion ways out there to get that done, right? But the gatekeeper is, can you get your book seen above all the other books? That's the gatekeeper now. And so I wish that I had understood that early, because my first book came out and it was a full 6 months out before I really understood what I should have been doing 6 months before it came out. So I always felt like I was behind on that book. So I would say that if you haven't started yet, that you want to start marketing your book at least 3 months before it is actually going to come out. And you need to be pushing it out there so people are getting excited and can't wait for it to come out.
Yes, absolutely. This next question, outstanding job, Terry. More on reviews. How successful is it to pay for reviews or any help and advice on?
So I think it's okay to pay for editorial reviews. So those are the big companies like the one that's sponsoring this. Um, but I never pay for just reviews. So like I've had bloggers and I will give them a book and ask them for an honest review, but I very, very rarely pay for a review. There are a lot of people out there who will review for free. Um, and I don't know that a paid review, a lot of times you can't get those put on Amazon. You can't get those put in places that you really need them. Like Amazon is one of the places you really need reviews, and they won't allow someone who's been paid for a review to review on Amazon. And so I'm I'm actually kind of against paid reviews. I mean, that's the way I feel personally, but it's because I've really researched and I have found those bloggers and those book enthusiasts who are willing to read, which is why you try to find an ARC team. You try to find those 10, 20, 30 people that you can reach out to and say, "Hey, I've written another book. Would you like to read it and review it for me?" And there are a lot of readers who really, really love the fact that they're getting a free book and they're getting it early. They get it before it's out and they get to review it. And they really like that. And I just found that to be a better way to go about it.
Absolutely. It's good that you mentioned, different types of reviews because you
Right.
definitely want to know what you're getting into before you get into
Absolutely.
it.
Absolutely. And you definitely, I think that you want to go ahead and pay for a couple of the reviews that are the, what's the word I'm trying to say? I've already said it once. Editorial, thank you. My mind went completely blank. The editorial reviews, because the editorial reviews, a lot of people know about these different editorial companies, and they usually are really good and give you 2 or 3 good sentences that you can now start using in all of your different marketing and on social media and all these other places that you want to put it out there. So I think a couple of really good editorial reviews is worth paying for. But after that, I don't pay for reviews.
For sure. This next question, what, if anything, has been the single most successful strategy to promote all of your books?
Podcasting. So, why I love getting on podcasts is, first of all, you're talking one on one to someone. So it doesn't feel as scary as like standing up in front of a group of 200 people or whatever. That's a little bit scary, but you're talking one on one. And their podcast, even if it's a small podcast and only has 20 people that listen to it, those are 20 people that you're not going to stand in front of anytime soon. So I was on a podcast in England. I'm not getting to England. And the likelihood that the people who listen to that podcast are ever going to see me in person somewhere is pretty limited. The likelihood that they're going to see any of my marketing is pretty limited. But I've just reached 20 people in England that otherwise would have never heard of me. And so I get on podcasts as many as I can. I've been on over 150 podcasts in the last 3 years. And so I think that's and most of them are free. And I also really recommend that you don't pay money unless there is a really good reason for doing it. You have your launch is coming and this person can get you in, but only if you'll pay a skip the line fee and it's within your budget. But most of the time, podcasters aren't charging. And if they are charging, unless you know that their audience is exactly what you need, I tend not to pay a lot of money to be on a podcast. So
Good to know. Yeah. And exciting to hear about all those appearances and you really get that experience racked up and it gets more and more comfortable. So that's an
yes,
exciting thing
yeah.
for authors to do. This next question, is there something you always tell authors to avoid when they're strategizing the promotion of their book?
Yeah, I think it's kind of, to me, there isn't any one thing to avoid. I think you need to think about what feels good to you. If it really feels horrible to you, like there's no way I can do that, then don't do that because it isn't going to work well for you. So for instance, if standing in front of a group of people is just not something that you can do, then it isn't going to be helpful to go stand in front of that group of people because you're going to feel awkward and horrible. Your audience is going to recognize that you feel awkward and horrible, and it's not going to be beneficial for you or your book. So don't do things that just feel really bad for you. So when people, for instance, tell you get on all the social media, well, don't get on all the social media. Get on the ones that you feel comfortable working with. So if that's Facebook and Instagram, then do that. I'm not on TikTok. I have a TikTok. I've tried it. It doesn't work for me. I don't know what I'm doing. It feels very uncomfortable. And so I stopped doing TikTok because I just can't figure it out. It doesn't suit a 61-year-old woman. It just doesn't work for me. And so I've quit worrying about it. And so that those would be what I would say is try things. And if it just doesn't feel right to you, there are a lot of ways to market. So move on to something that does.
Absolutely. I think that's something authors are kind of afraid to not do is what everyone
Yeah,
else is doing, but it's such an important point. You can make whatever feels good to you work for you.
you can.
Yeah,
And there are so many options that you don't have, and you can't do it all. I guess my other thing that I would tell people is don't pick up a book that says 1001 ways to market because you can't market 1001 ways. You'll go crazy. You'll never write again. You'll always be doing everything halfway and not completing anything. It will feel terrible. It's better to find 3 or 4 things that you can do well than to worry about the other 997 that you can't do.
right. And that will feed in really well to our next question, actually, which is how long did you spend promoting each book before you move on to the next project?
So I promote heavily for 3 months before the book comes out. I promote heavily for the first 2 to 3 months after the book comes out. And then I continue to promote for quite some time. In fact, I'll continue to promote a book until my next one comes out. And even then, I don't give up on that book. You know, books don't have a shelf life um, like milk. They don't expire. And so you can keep coming back to that book. And so on occasion, maybe I'll do a little marketing thing where I'll push one book that hasn't been, I haven't talked about lately. And it's just a way now of picking up new people that maybe haven't heard about me. And oh, wait, I didn't know she had that book. And so I would say I do 6 months of like solid, hardcore marketing on a book. And then I could just continue to do marketing throughout. So my social media will have different books at different times, and we'll be talking about different books and um, that kind of thing. My website always, the landing page is always my latest book. So that's the one that you'll see when you first go there.
Absolutely. I kind of like that idea of the cyclical sort of thing. It's
Yeah.
it's ongoing. It has these peaks and valleys, maybe. A similar question, is book promotion ever done?
No, no, I don't think it is. Well, maybe if you become like uber famous and the book is just now selling itself because people know your name, like you're James Patterson or somebody. But given that I've not reached that status, I don't feel that it's ever done. I think that you have to constantly be greasing that marketing wheel at least a little bit. It gets easier because you get into a groove, and like I know every Monday that I'm going to put up a word, a word of the day. And I know on Tuesday, I call it Toot Your Own Horn Tuesday. And so I go into my social media and I toot my own horn, and I have something that has happened that I can put up there on one of my books. And so it becomes a little easier, but I don't think it's ever done. Just like, is your writing ever done? No, because you then work on your next project. So, I mean, there's always something that you're feeding your marketing wheel with.
Absolutely, which I think can feel kind of overwhelming or scary. But I think if you focus on that, doing the pace that works for you and doing the
Right.
things that work for you, that's what makes that sustainable.
I tell people to think about doing one or two small things every day towards marketing. And I don't mean like you sit down for 6 hours and do marketing. I mean something little, like I'm going to put up a post on Instagram today, and I'm going to reach out and contact this one podcaster that I heard about. And that's the two things I'm going to do for marketing today. And then tomorrow I'll do one or two things. And if you do it that way, it never feels overwhelming.
Perfect. Well, that is all the time that we have for questions in this panel. But for all the attendees, if you've got a question that wasn't answered, please do stick around for more panels later today. And you can also check out Atmosphere Press's YouTube channel, where we have previous live sessions with publishing professionals recorded and uploaded there. But with all of that being said, thank you so much to Teri M. Brown for sharing so many pieces of advice and tips, so much knowledge with us. And thank you to everyone in the audience, of course, for joining us as well and for putting in these really interesting questions to get us to the meat of the matter. The next panel today is going to be a joint talk on social media and email marketing with social media and marketing experts, Callie Stevens and Carly Fitzgerald. We're going to be giving away more exclusives in their panel, and they've got a lot of great insights as well, so it'll be a good one to check out. To rejoin the webinar for the next panel, you'll just click the same link you clicked to join the webinar for this panel. And the next panel will begin shortly, so while you're in the digital waiting room, you can enjoy excerpts from the audiobook, The Solitary Sparrow by Lorraine Norwood. And of course, thank you again to this panel sponsor, Independent Book Review. You can visit their website and use the coupon code SUMMIT for $15 off editorial book reviews or group beta reads. And of course, I'm happy to announce this panel's giveaway winners. The winner of a free copy of Teri's book, Daughters of Green Mountain Gap, is Abdullah Shakboa, and the winner of an Atmosphere Press merch bundle is Kathleen Boston. Please look out for an email from Atmosphere this week about arranging the delivery of your prizes. And in the meantime, we'll look forward to seeing all of you in the next panel.